Hello, welcome back to a new video of Microsplace. Today I have a Samsung S8 Plus. It has a CPU problem because sometimes it boots up and it falls out, and sometimes it just stays in a boot loop. So we're gonna reball the RAM and the CPU on the same board. To start the repair, I'm gonna put this in a board holder. And the first thing we're gonna do is remove the underfill of the CPU. We remove the underfill on 210 degrees Celsius. Now the underfill is removed on the sides. We're gonna remove the RAM first because it's easier to remove the RAM first now because CPU is still stuck. The CPU is loose, it's very hard to remove the RAM. I'm gonna use this tool to go between the CPU and the RAM. I'm gonna heat up the board with 380 degrees and just putting a little pressure, and when I feel I can go in the CPU. When the balls are molten, push a little harder. So the RAM is removed. Now we're gonna disassemble the CPU. I think the CPU is a little bit harder because it's very hard to go between the CPU and the RAM. I will remove this cap so it can go between a little bit easier, or it will just move on itself. And now it's removed. First thing that I'm gonna do is clean the CPU. This is the RAM side of the CPU. I'm gonna use my preheater for the ICs. You need to connect this to a 12 volt power supply or a USB-C cable. I'm gonna put it on 100 or 200 degrees. I'm gonna wait a little bit until it's molten. While it's on the preheater, I'm gonna go with my soldering iron on 300 degrees. I'm gonna mix it with a low melt solder tin. Don't put your soldering iron too long on the IC because it can blow up. Now everything is mixed up. Now I can go with how I call it is the hockey stick. Remove all the underfill. Be really careful, you don't want to damage the IC. Now I'm gonna apply some flux again, because I see some of the solder joints aren't mixed with the low melt solder tin. Really don't apply any pressure with your soldering iron because you're gonna damage the IC. Now we're gonna remove the tin, and therefore I'm using some solder wick. Now the IC is clean. I'm gonna remove it from the preheater and I will clean it with a brush and some alcohol. The underfill is still a little bit stuck on the sides. I'm gonna clean the other side. Again, I use here for my preheater. Apply some flux again because we're also gonna mix it with some low melt solder tin. We can use again some solder wick to remove the outer tin. I can remove the CPU from the preheater. Gonna also clean this with a brush. Needs a little bit more pressure, so I'm gonna clean it with the cleaning cloth. Gonna remove all the yellow flux or rosin from the IC, so otherwise it's very hard to reball. Clean the sides also. Now it's pretty clean, as you can see. Cold solder joint doesn't really matter when we are reballing. The ball won't stuck to the CPU. When we reballed, add flux and reheat, it was stuck to the CPU. And this one also pretty clean. Now we're gonna clean the RAM itself. Same method in the preheater. Now that both ICs are clean, you can reball the ICs. But first, we're gonna clean the board itself. And this is basically the same thing. We're gonna apply some flux. And we're gonna add some low melt solder tin. We're gonna remove the rest of the underfill with 210 degrees. Remember, this cap fell off. We're gonna look if this one was important. So now everything is clean. Gonna look if these pads are important. This R is important. I can see it because it's a traced on cap. I think these ones are the blue ones, the no connection. Here to and the capacitor or resistor if it's important. We go to Samsung S8 Plus. 1, 2, 3. This one was important, but there are a lot of caps, so if one is removed, doesn't matter. These are removed. This one also doesn't matter because there are a lot more. Then here we have some loose caps. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, the other ones all doesn't matter. We're gonna look at the cap, and I think this cap will be important because there is only one cap on this line, and if there's one cap, the cap has a function, and if one cap is removed, it needs to be transplanted or replaced. We're gonna replace the capacitor, then we can reball the ICs. Now I'm gonna take my donor board. I couldn't find an S8 Plus, but I have an S8 here, probably the same capacitor. So we're gonna remove this heat shield. We do this with 500 degrees and max airflow. Look, here we have the same capacitor. So the motherboard is ready now. We're gonna apply some flux. Not too much because the chip will swim in the flux and will drift away. And put this aside and we can reball the IC. So for the CPU, I'm gonna reball the CPU side. And for the RAM, I'm gonna reball the RAM. See, there is a little bit on the fill left here. It needs to be removed. I'm gonna look if I can clean it. To reball the IC, I'm using my magnetic base from the T20 Pro. Now we're gonna take some low melt solder tin or solder paste, like this one. It could be any brand. I just like to use this one. I think it's from Mechanic. I'm gonna heat it with a hot air gun at 210 degrees, and I'm gonna hold it with my tweezers. I'm gonna start far away and get closer and closer. So now it's reballed. I'm gonna add some flux and reheat it. Now when the balls aren't shiny anymore, we can take off the stencil. Now we're gonna heat it once more. Here a few balls didn't go on the IC. Let's look why. I think these are broken traces from the CPU. I haven't seen this before. If I saw this, I wouldn't have reballed it. But maybe they aren't important. Let's take a look in the schematic. This one is important. This one is important. This one also is important. So we need to repair these traces. Maybe this is why the board was rebooting. Oh, it's display. I'm gonna put the IC in the board holder. Now I'm gonna remove a little bit of the solder balls. It's easy to work. Now we can see where the trace is going. This one is going to here, this one is going to here, and this one is going to here. So we're gonna scratch the IC a little bit. Trace is exposed. I'm gonna take a new knife that's a little bit sharper. Now we have 3 traces. Add some flux, some soldering tin. Like this, we're gonna take our repair bits. This one on a sheet. Let's look what size these are. I think the smallest one. Oh no, this is the perfect size. Let's make them a little bit smaller. like this, and I'm gonna take the soldering iron from the pad here. Let's clean it a little bit, take a look if it's good. It's good but not perfect. If you want to make it too perfect, it will go all bad. This is just the glue that you see from underneath the pads. I don't really like this brand of pads. I think it's from Refox. I don't know any other. And now the last one. And this one broke off. And this one is still a little bit too long. And I'm gonna add some UV mask on this one because these two are very close. When I heat this one can heat it up, and the same thing around. When you use a little bit of heat, it will cure faster. Now we're gonna scratch the traces. And now the traces are repaired. Gonna again add some here. See, I've scratched a little bit too much. After that, it's ready for reballing. Now to reball again, we're gonna use the magnetic base. I ain't gonna reball the whole IC in just this place. Clean the stencil again to be sure. Bolts are solid. I'm gonna add some flux again. Reheat it. Now the IC is reballed properly. Heat it one more time. Make sure all the balls are even. Need to add a little bit more flux. And we can see the repaired pads are also good looking. Now we're gonna reball the RAM. Hopefully no loose pads. Same method on the magnetic base. Some toilet paper in the stencil. Aligning the IC can be a little bit hard, but when you see the pads, it gets easy. And the solder paste. By the way, I'm using low melt solder paste. When I see the flux is a lot of bubbling, I put away my hot air. Because when it's bubbling, it will go through each other and the balls will be uneven. When the bubbling goes away, you can go a little bit less far from the stencil. When we're gonna reflow this, all these pieces between go to the balls and they will go bridging. So first thing we're gonna do is clean with a brush. And brush most of them away. Reapply the stencil because some balls are stuck in the stencil. That's why you want to reapply the flux and reheat it again, because the ball gets stuck in the stencil sometimes. For now, first I'm gonna reflow it. Put it on its place. I'm gonna heat it. I'm gonna make 2 new balls. Now the IC is good reballed. You can put this one away and reassemble the board. IC can only be placed one way. Remember, it needs to be this way. Be sure we're gonna look in schematic. And it's need to left upper corner, and it's this one because this one is different from these ones, so I know this is the dot. Let's look if the CPU is still good. No dirt. No, it looks fine, so we can place it on the motherboard. Try to put it as straight as possible on the board. I think this will be fine. We're gonna add some flux for the RAM, and this dot needs to be at the same direction. Now the repair is ready, you can test it. Here we have the screen, still has some battery in it. Now we're gonna take the power supply. It doesn't turn on. Maybe it needs some board swap. First we're gonna disassemble the RAM and the CPU. Now we can put away the CPU. First we're gonna clean the motherboard. Now I've seen this one is a little bit loose, so we're gonna add a little bit of flux, reheat it. And now it blew away. That capacitor is gone. Move the underfill. And we will look if that capacitor is important. It's this capacitor. And there are multiple capacitors on this line, as you can see. So if one is missing, it doesn't matter. Oh, sorry, it's the third one. 1P1. Yeah, this is the same thing. There are multiple capacitors on this line, so it doesn't matter if this one is away. So I ain't gonna replace it. And also this device only needs to work for the data. So now we're gonna clean the motherboard with toothbrush. Look if everything is flat. Yes, looks alright. I'm gonna add some flux. So when the CPU is rebought, we can just put it on and it's ready to go. Thread a little bit. So now the motherboard is ready. We're gonna put this aside. We're gonna clean the RAM and the CPU, or at least remove the pin. Again, we're gonna use some wick. This one is ready. Clean this one. We need to watch out for the pads that we repaired. We don't scratch them off, because then we need to rebuild them. So this side is ready. We're gonna remove the pin of the other side. Now also clean this with some alcohol. Now we can start reballing. For the reballing process, we're gonna use the magnet and some toilet paper. And we're gonna put on the stencil. Make sure your stencil is clean. It should look like something like this. Now we're gonna take the low melt solder tin or solder paste. We're gonna try to remove all the flux of the solder paste. Pressing the solder paste on the paper and the flux stays behind. Now we're gonna reball this and put the tweezer on the stencil. We're gonna heat it with 210 degrees. Now the IC is reballed. We're gonna let it cool off a little bit before we pull off the stencil. Now we're gonna heat it once more, so all the balls will be straight. Now it's fully reballed. Now we're gonna reball the RAM the same way, but it's a little bit easier because there are a lot less pads. Here it's a little bit scratched, so to be sure I'm gonna add some UV mask so it won't make a short. Now we can reball the IC. So now the chip is reballed, but I've seen some of the balls didn't stay stuck on the IC like these ones. They are loose. Fix this. Gonna add some flux, just a little bit, not too much. Here also, I'm gonna reheat the stencil, and they should go on their place. Because some of them were cold solder joints, so it's hard for the tin to stick on the IC. And now this IC is reballed also. Now we can assemble the phone. I'm gonna take the motherboard and the CPU first. The point needs to be left upper corner. Like this. Put it as straight as possible. I think this will be alright. Now we can test the phone. I think it will turn on, as I can see right now. Yes, it's turning on. I'm gonna assemble the phone and let you see it's working. So let's wait that it fully booted. Now it's booted up. Phone is working. And we can pull off the data for the customer. This was the video. I hope you learned something. If I didn't say something right, or you didn't understand something, or you want to know something else, let it know in the comments. We will respond to every comment. Bye.